I'm Jolene Theresa.
And I'm KimBurly.
And we are here to talk to you today about rejections. So Kim and I have both applied to and auditioned for a ton of shows. Sometimes it's not really a big deal, but when there's a show that you really, really want to get into and you get rejected, it's kind of a different feeling. And that recently happened. So we're going to talk to Kim about it. So you recently got rejected from a pretty big festival.
Yep.
And it would have been your first out-of-country performance?
Yes, my first international.
So this was a couple days ago.
Yeah.
It's not great.
It's not. It's not a great feeling. Especially when it's something that you want really badly, something that's a really big goal for you, which for me, my goal last year was to perform in as many states as possible, and this year I really...
And you did that.
I did.
You did like 15 out of 50.
Yeah, we're getting there, but I really wanted to go international this year, so I researched a bunch of different festivals, and...
How many did you apply to?
This was the only one that I had applied to.
Okay. Because of travel or because of timing?
Timing, travel, cost to get to said location. Because festivals typically don't pay, so it's a great networking experience, but
you lose money going.
You lose money going. So places I really wanted to go, also... language barriers.
Ooh, yeah.
So there was a lot of reasons why I chose this particular festival to be the first international one that I applied to.
How does it feel different? Because I know when I auditioned for really big shows that I wanted and I didn't get them, yes, they would give you some type of complimentary feedback, but it still felt different. It still felt like you wanted to know why this one? Why you couldn't get into this one? So how does this feel different than the other shows you've applied to, either this year or in general? How does it feel different?
It's... When you start applying to shows, as you know, you sort of expect to get a lot of rejections, and...
You expect to get mostly rejected.
It's part of the everything, but when you want something this badly, you put a lot more, or at least I do, I put a lot more thought into what I'm saying and how I'm portraying myself, and
you applied for this one accidentally like 12 times.
Yeah, at least.
There was an error on their website. Kim applied like...
A lot.
And I even reached out to my contact there and was like, how do we get her in? And it still just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, it feels more like you're not good enough when you put more effort into it.
True.
Than if you are applying to something that maybe you already feel like maybe you're not a great fit for, but it's a show and you want to perform. You get the rejection and you feel more like... All right, well, that makes sense. Whereas this one, it feels more like, maybe I'm just not good enough to be.
Because your reaction was,
yeah.
I need to develop all new acts.
Not all new acts.
But you needed new acts.
I needed better representation of what I could do. Whether that meant new acts or making my current acts better.
Okay. So because this was like days ago.
Yeah.
And although you have other good things coming up, what are you doing to combat those feelings? Besides renovating your entire kitchen.
That's coming. I'm trying to focus on the good things that are coming up. And I'm trying to think about ways that I can get better videos, better photos, right. A better bio maybe, reaching out to people who have been in a lot of festivals and have been accepted to lots of places that I would love to be, and asking for their help, whether it's paying for a private or if they'd be willing to look over my stuff and help me out with that. That's where my brain immediately goes, is I need to be better because I didn't get into this thing I wanted to get into.
Which is normal. So in the pole world, I don't know if it's the same as the burlesque world, but with festivals and expos and shows and conventions, my route that I took was to volunteer. So I immediately started volunteering at everything I wanted to be a part of, which led me to then working production for those companies, which then brought me to teaching and performing. Is that an option in the burlesque world? Is that something you would think about doing, maybe even locally, in order to build that international network and then use that network to get in?
Most of the rejections that I get for the festivals often have a link for a volunteer option. Definitely something I would think about doing, because it's not like I'm going to the festivals to get paid.
Right.
I'm going to network. So,
because you've only been doing burlesque for 2 years now?
Yeah, I'm just under 2 years.
Right. So you're still technically pretty new.
Yes. And I apply as a newbie. A lot of the festivals will have a main show and like a new show, like a newbie show. The one in Oklahoma was actually called Newbies. But so I'm always applying for those new shows.
I think they should call it small boobs.
Small boobs. That's a good one.
Hey, burlesque people, if you're going to have a newbie category, you should call it small boobs. I feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Or little boobs.
Little boobs.
I think that would be appropriate. So, are you going to apply for, it's the spring, are you going to apply for more stuff internationally? Or did this hit you so hard that you're like, I'm going to wait?
I am going to apply to more stuff internationally. I want to, because not only internationally, but also within the United States, I've gotten quite a few festival rejections using the same format, the same video, same everything. I think I want to make sure that I have a better representation of the act that I want to put in before I apply.
Okay, so does that mean you need other people's content to make it look better, or you want to sit down and redevelop some parts of the acts to make the act better? Like, are you looking for better video and photo as representation, or are you thinking I need to reset and figure out how to make the costume more integral with the act, or the character, the facial expressions, or the music, or the movements? Which side of this are you veering towards? Because you have a lot of good photos. I've seen them.
A little bit of both. The particular act that I do is the Baroness. That's one that I always apply with.
And you're doing it 3 times this year.
Yes, at least. But the only video I have is from New Orleans, which is, it was a okay video.
But it was more of like an interactive show, so you might not have gotten the angles and the appropriate visuals.
Yeah. And the costume now has a wig that is not in said video, and I've changed the corset over. Have
you thought about just videoing it on your own?
Mm-hmm.
Did you do it?
No, I've not done it.
Maybe do that as like a backup?
But I've thought about it.
Because you could always have clips of the Baroness from shows and then write in there like, well, here's a link to the full thing, but as you know, it's hard to get video at a live event, so here's a video of the full act, but here is it at shows, clips of it anyways. Mm-hmm. That might work.
Yeah, it might.
Because it is hard to get video at shows.
Yeah.
Unless you have a videographer, which we do at some of our shows, but yeah, it's hard to get that video.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with your main acts to develop them in a way that you feel like they're better represented? Are you resetting costumes? I know the Baroness, you said you added stuff, but what are you doing with some of your other acts? Are you resetting costumes? Are you changing the song? Are you changing the act itself? Or are you throwing some of them out? Are you like, this one's not working?
The Baroness, Oogie, are my two main acts, and then I just had the I'm developing the Christina Aguilera song act because I really like that and it represents who I am. But I've only done that one once.
Isn't that a song of hers? Who I Am or something like that?
Oh,
Maybe. I don't know. I digress.
And so I'm developing those, and as we've discussed, I have the Hey Hey act I'd like to develop as well.
Which will be hilarious.
And those four for me are complete different sides of who I am as a performer. And so a lot of festivals will ask for 2 act submissions. So I like to have those. I like to have the two very different.
Right.
The 2 festivals that I did get into this year both chose Oogie over the Baroness. And actually, yeah, both of them did. And I had to think about that for a minute.
So instead of building more acts, you're focusing on 4 acts. 2 that are funny, 2 that are serious.
Yes.
And kind of old school burlesque. That way you have 2 of each option.
Yes.
That sounds good. So you're focusing more on developing and building to making these few things better instead of adding.
Correct.
I did the same thing, except it was acts that I hated and didn't want to do. But I got paid to do them, so we did them. But yeah, it's hard to get rejected.
Oh, very.
But you learn to live with it. I remember a casting director telling me that I was too pretty and delicate to be in their show. And I was like, I really want to take that as a compliment, but what? So yeah, it sucks to get rejected, but the best thing you can do is the best thing you can do is develop, listen to the feedback if they give it, and continue pushing yourself into either new directions or new avenues. That being said, you got rejected a couple days ago. However, you also secured a venue and are now solo producing your first set of shows this summer in a couple months.
Yes, very excited.
These are 2 very different feelings.
Yes.
How is that going?
It's a little overwhelming. Hence the kitchen renovation.
Yep, yeah.
It's a very strange feeling to have 2 very different emotions happening, where I super bummed out about the rejection, but I'm super excited about my own show. And being able to put on a production that
You want.
I want.
And you get to be in.
And I get to be
you
in
get to
it.
do whatever you want in
I
it.
can do whatever I want and bring things to an area of Massachusetts that doesn't have a whole lot of stuff available.
So you're bringing opportunities, and you kind of get to work with the people you've worked with locally who have kind of helped build you locally.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
All right, so we're going to end that here, and you can join us next week, and we're going to talk about Kim's show and all the details and how you can see it.